Okay, refresh. Can we join back the call? Let me join back the call real quick.
Welcome to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code, followed by the pound sign.
Hold up, guys.
To join the conference as the host, press star. Otherwise, press
What's up?
pound. At the tone, please speak your name.
Wavy. I'm joining the call.
There are 161 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as a participant. For a menu of available commands, press star pound. Your connection is now in listen-only mode.
Alright.
At the KPI, yeah, and it contributed to Epic's ability to efficiently build a top quality iOS version of. Yes.
Alright, guys, I got class, so I'm not gonna be able to be on stream, so
No worries, no worries.
I'll just let y'all hear this.
And the API called Metal contributed to Epic's ability to efficiently build a top quality version of Fortnite for iOS. Yeah. And if you could look, please, sir, at a 3098.
DX? No.
Your Honor, apologies. DX3098. Your Honor, while Mr. Sweeney is looking at that, could I please move DX3768 into evidence?
Any objections? That's the dice. That's his speech? Yeah, no objection, Your Honor. I submitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I want my headset
And
now.
Mr. Sweeney, have you had an opportunity to review Exhibit DX3098? Yeah. And do you recognize this
It's
as
a charger for my headset, bro.
an
You're not using
internal
this.
email string at Epic? Yes. From May 2018? Yes. And the ray line is quotes for WWDC. Do you see that? Yes. And what does WWDC stand for? Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. And this May 11th, 2018 email is just weeks after the public launch of Fortnite on iOS, correct? Yes, perhaps days. Yes. And Apple asked if Epic would be willing to provide a quote about its impressions of Metal for use at Apple's WWDC, correct? Yes. And at the bottom of page 1, carrying over to page 2, there's an email from you on May 9, where you say more, and then at the top there's a paragraph in italics. Do you see that? And you wrote that?
Look at my charger. Where'd you put it?
Okay. Yeah. And what you wrote here, Mr. Sweeney,
Why do you
is
touch
Metal
it?
gave us the injection
Why
of
do you lose my
performance
charger if
required
you're
for
gonna lose it,
shipping
bro?
the full
I need it for
Fortnite,
class.
Battle Royale experience on iOS quickly with
You know
no
where you put it?
compromises. Does that mean compromises? Yes, okay. This is a list on. Sure. And then you go on to say, porting a game built for high-end gaming consoles to iOS with a greatly superior experience with Metal and OpenGL. Correct? Yes. And did you mean that when you wrote that?
I need a
That's
charger.
good.
That's my charger.
And
This is my
what is
charger for my
OpenGL?
iPhone.
OpenGL is a multi-platform graphics API.
Bro, hold on.
And OpenGL can be used and
Oh, man, there's no way he
was
lost
also
it.
used on platforms during this period, aside from Android devices, true?
Hold up. I gotta go teach it.
And Metal was superior to OpenGL no matter what platform OpenGL was being used on, true? At this time, I believe Metal only existed on iOS, so it could not be compared on other platforms. And if we go back to the exhibit, sir, Josh Adams, then a second quote immediately above yours on page 1. Do you see that? Yes. And who is Mr. Adams? He is a senior programmer at Skill. And Mr. Adams says, we've been making on iOS since its release in 2014 to great effect. A fast, agile, feature-rich, API-like Metal is exactly what we need to bring a game designed for modern consoles and desktops to the battery-powered iPhone and iPad. As a developer, it blows away OpenGL in every way. We were able to get Fortnite ship-ready in a handful of months, weren't hindered by graphics. Do you see that? Yes. Agree with that statement? Absolutely. And in fact, immediately above that, you wrote on May 9th, I like your best. Let's give both to Apple and let them mix and match on the they like. That's the response to Mr. Adams. And you did, in fact, like this quote the best. Yes. And Mr. Sweeney, I would like to show you what has been marked. Let me back up. Now, I'm not sure if I have done this, so let me do this now. I would ask him to do DX3098 into evidence. Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Admitted. And, Your Honor, I would next like to show the witness D4036. And then yeah. Thank you. Mr. Sweeney, I have handed you what has been marked as exhibit DX4036. Have you had a chance to review it? Of course. Yeah. Do you recognize this to be an email exchange between you and Mr. Microsoft in January 2018? Yes. And in the bottom email on January 9th, you write to Mr. Spencer, stating in the second paragraph, we're bringing Fortnite Battle Royale to iOS and Android in late February. Do you see that? Yes. And in fact, as you already told us, it went into beta testing in March, correct? Yes. And then you go on to say, not a dumbed down version, but the full experience, correct? Yes. And was that and you made it to Mr. Spencer in January 2018? Yes. And in the next paragraph, in the second sentence, he said, we want to work with Microsoft to unblock all console mandate interop restrictions in time for this launch. I'm confident we'll achieve this with the other guys, and at any rate, platforms that block interop will be siloed. Again, does this refer to Microsoft's hesitance to provide the cross-platform play that you knew that Apple was about to? Okay, so was this a reference to Microsoft's unwillingness to agree to cross-platform play?
Microsoft's position at this time ambiguous. Microsoft did not have a very clear position. They often spoke publicly in support of cross-platform. I think wanted to eliminate the ambiguity of Microsoft over the cross-platform policies.
And part of that ambiguity was it wasn't happening, correct?
Correct. It wasn't happening.
And so you wanted to solve the anxiety by getting them to do it, correct?
Yes.
And you used the fact that Apple was bringing a version of Fortnite online on iOS to motivate Microsoft to promote this platform, correct?
Epic was bringing Fortnite to iOS.
Thank you. If I misspoke, I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. But you agree?
Yes.
And you knew that would motivate Microsoft because it did not want to be less relevant by being cut out of cross-platform play that included platforms like iOS, correct? And in fact, in Mr. Spencer's email at the top, in the fourth paragraph, he states, "Net is, I have to work this through with you. Wish we had more time to work the iOS and Android scenario. Sounds that they have 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know how we get ahead of this in the future. I think we've been partners on Fortnite, so hopefully we can collaborate on roadmaps more going forward." And in fact, Mr. Spencer was concerned about how to coordinate with you in light of the iOS launch that was coming up in a few weeks, correct?
Yes.
So I would ask you, please, just to turn back EX3125 a moment. You'll recall that this is the email from June 2018 in which you are asking Sony to agree to cross-platform play, correct?
Yes.
It's the email in which you said, frankly, you do not believe Sony's position is even legal.
Yes.
And I'd ask you to the last paragraph of that email, the very first email in this chain, where you state, "We urge to find a way to enable a positive partnership and to join Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Nintendo as platforms enabling all customers to play together with all of their friends." That's something that you wrote to Mr. Rosenberg in June 2018, correct?
Yes.
And that was your view of the relevant different transaction platforms for Fortnite regarding cross-platform play, correct?
Is the set of platforms in which Fortnite wanted to support or did support cross-platform play.
Thank you. Mr. Swinger, are you familiar with a publication, I believe it's an online publication called Eurogamer?
Yes.
And what is Eurogamer?
It's a website, possibly with accompanying magazines covering the topic of I believe, focused on console and PC.
And have you been interviewed by Eurogamer in the past?
Yes.
And if you could please look at exhibit DX3199. This is a Eurogamer from March 21, 2019. And sir, do you remember giving the interview reflected in this version of Eurogamer?
I mean, of course. Yes, I generally remember it.
Okay. And first of all, Your Honor, I would move exhibit DX3199 into evidence.
Any objection? No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Sweeney, in the initial paragraph, the interviewer makes clear that one of the topics to be addressed in the interview is the EpicGames store. But he also asks in the first question, the big talking point this week, Google Stadia. You've all brief and are very in. What's your take on it? And Google Stadia was a streaming service that was launched around March 2019, correct?
First question is it was announced in that time zone, but was not publicly available.
Thank you. And in your response, you say, I'm very excited. Unreal Engine fully supports it. We've been working with them on a technical capacity on this for a very long time. I'm expecting to put 10 teraflops of computing power in front of every device of every size in the world. Is that a statement that you made in this interview in 19?
Yeah.
A streaming device, a streaming service functioning well can give even a small device extraordinary computing power since it's playing games off of a remote server, correct?
Yes, it enables any device to connect to a server with a lot of computing power.
And if you go down, please, to, and also an Unreal Engine, other company, with the game engine, was actually working on the technical capacity with Google, correct?
Yes.
And does it continue to work with Google on Stadia?
Yes.
You've been making progress over the last couple of years?
Unreal Engine has been continually supporting Stadia.
And if you go down, sir, to the next statement, you state, we live in a multi-platform, multi-ecosystem world now. Is that a statement you made in 2019? And do you agree with that today?
Yes.
And you state Fortnite engagement, a couple platforms, all these different stores and platforms, they need to connect together and support players playing across their favorite devices in their different ways. Is that a statement you made in 2019?
Yes.
And do you still agree with that statement today?
Totally.
And going down, sir, below the box, you see it says, the state of gaming changed over time, right? And we're all going to have to keep up. Is that a statement you made in 2018?
Yeah.
And do you still agree with that statement today? Digital gaming is a very dynamic world, isn't it?
It changes every time.
And then, do you also agree, sir, that a great game will succeed wherever it's sold?
I recall the statement, but I don't remember the context in which I made it.
Well, if you look down here, sir, it's encouraging for those looking to join the store, too, I'm sure, referring to the EpicGames. So is there bottom of the first page of the 199, the very last answer on that page.
Here I am referring to competition among PC game stores, yes.
And in between, you say that the high number of initial users or visitors that your store had proves not that Epic Store is awesome, it's that games come first, and that a great game will succeed where it's sold. It proves that developers have the real power in the industry, and that where developers go, customers will go to them. Is that a statement in 2019?
Yeah.
And is that still agree with today?
Yeah. Context of the PC game and business.
understand what you mean by that. So are you saying that great games in some other context will not succeed or will not drive success?
Yeah, no, I was referring to competition among the game stores, the Epic Game Store and Steam. The competition I was referring to was competition for PC gamers, game customers across PC game stores.
So my question is, does that mean that the opposite is true in other contexts for gaming?
It varies by platform, though.
So great games on different platforms, you would say that this does not apply. Your statement does not apply.
It's referring to customers.
I understand what you said you're referring to. My question is slightly different, given that you a distinction. So are you saying the statement is not applicable in the other aspects that you've not identified?
Okay, which statement precisely?
Read it again,
That a great game will succeed wherever it's sold?
Mr. Sweeney, Eurogamer interview in 2015, you stated, games come first, and that a great game will succeed wherever it's sold. It proves that developers have power in the industry, that where developers go, customers will go with them. Now, that statement is not limited to PC games, is it?
The question I was asking was about the Epic Game Store's PC on PC competing with other stores on PC. A statement that it should come first, and the game will succeed wherever it's sold, I believe, universal. A second statement, it proves that developers have real power in the industry.
Hold on, guys.
And that developers and customers to go with them. It's a good PC industry. Developers can't sell anywhere.
Your mic is bad.
So you're, in your opinion, though, that games come first and that a great game will succeed wherever it's sold, that's a generally applicable statement, correct?
Here.
In terms of game stores, Mr. Sweeney, you would agree that stores should be able to make their own decisions about the quality of apps and other attributes of the app that should be permitted to their stores, correct?
To the extent they are freely competing with other stores, yes.
And in fact, what is on a particular store is part of the competitive landscape among different stores in which customers make decisions between stores based on the quality, selection, and other policies of stores, correct?
Yes.
How many games are in the Epic Game Store?
I believe approximately 200 to 300.
And what percentage of those are paid versus premium?
The large number of games available on any day paid games, and the games are always free. And each week we offer a free for just that week.
So the vast majority are paid download games, correct?
Yes.
How many premium games are there?
What?
There are at least a handful.
How big is a handful, sir?
I'm sorry, definitely at least 10.
Thank you. I'd like to show you a slide from the game statement, if I can. It's the one that identifies the various apps that I believe were described as not apps.
assume you haven't already, guys.
Yeah. And you testified yesterday on direct that the Spotify, the one on the left, that was the first non-gaming app, true?
I'm sorry if I did. I was missing one engine, which has been available on the Epic Games Store.
That's the developer engine run by your other company, correct? Yes. Other than developer engine, in terms of consumer-facing apps, the first non-game app was Spotify, correct?
Yes, that's my recollection.
And that was, as I believe you said a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's my recollection.
And in fact, Spotify is a member of something called the Coalition for App Fairness, true? And that's a coalition that you created around the time that you launched the hotfix and litigation.
Spotify, Match, and Tidal for Coalition for App Fairness. Time September or October 2020.
So, a month ago, you were able to get Spotify to come onto the Epic Games Store, true?
Yes.
One of your coalition members.
Yes.
And the next app is something called itch.io, correct?
Yes.
And that is a Epic Games Store?
Yes.
And itch.io joined the Epic Games Store on the 22nd, correct?
I don't remember the precise date. No,
About 11 days.
yes.
Is that before or after California?
Okay, which day of the week was that?
No, let's call it Thursday.
There we go, that's it.
And itch.io is now kind of a store within your game store, correct?
Yes.
And you don't know, well, first of all, how many games are on itch.io?
Certain, but my understanding is at least 100.
Have you looked at them all? Do you know what criteria itch.io uses to include new games on its site?
Yes.
Do you know the identity of the various developers who have put games on itch.io?
Yes.
Now, prior to itch.io, Epic had never had a store within its store, correct?
With respect to software stores. Spotify and music stores.
Okay. And now you're back to Spotify, right?
Yes.
And next on this opening graphic was iHeart was added around April 22nd, correct?
Yes.
After you arrived in California for this trial, correct?
Yes.
And TwinShape, that too was launched or on the Epic Games Store around April 22nd, 2021, correct?
Yes.
And Krita was also placed on the Epic Games Store on April 22nd, 2021, correct? And Brave was also placed on the App Store April 22, 20, correct?
Yes.
It's important to you to get all of these transactions completed before this trial started, right?
Yes, that was one of my motivations to use that example.
Because you wanted to be able to have this slide shown in your opening statement, true?
There's something about a slide at that point.
Just to be able to present this evidence to this court, right?
I wanted to, for Epic to demonstrate that we welcomed that other story.
Mr. Sweeney, do you have any plans to change the name of the EpicGames store to something other than the game store?
No, EpicGames is the name of the company. Don't plan to change it to something else.
You testified yesterday that you expect the EpicGames store to be profitable in 3 to 4 years. Do you remember that testimony generally? Now, when you say profitable within 3 to 4 years, you don't mean to suggest that the amount the company has invested in minimum guarantees various game developers will have been paid off, do you?
Go, Sammy, go.
It's not what I had in mind. I was thinking of turning an operator year by year.
That you actually expect to never recoup hundreds of millions of dollars of those minimum guarantees, correct?
That's not quite right. I don't expect to recoup those minimum guarantees from the sales of the games where we made the guarantees. We might recoup them from other topics later.
Okay, but so you expect to lose some hundreds of millions of dollars relative to the amount of minimum guarantees, correct?
Yes.
Please turn to the Exhibit 3818.
Your Honor, there's an issue with confidential material from third parties that we've been alerted to in DX318. And what I would ask is, to the extent that the document cannot be published, but can be used right now, and if you could be pointed to certain information, and perhaps Mr. Doyle could talk afterwards about the specific information. I think that the question can proceed if Mr. Doran can just point Mr. Sweeney to the information, have him talk about it here in open court, and then we can work out the additional sort of publication of the document and release of the document publicly outside of this setting.
And I assume read the document out loud.
There are certain, Your Honor, that I've pointed to for Mr. Doran that I'd rather not be read out. Certainly talk to Mr. Sweeney about it and point the court toward two portions by referring to a particular paragraph number and, in fact, the first word.
Your Honor, this is the first I've heard of this as to this document. And the language I was shown that raises this issue is in the second email from the top from Mr. Sweeney to his board member, copying his various internal executives regarding Epic Games Store's P&L. Now, either Epic Games Store is relevant to Epic Games, or we shouldn't be talking about it in this lawsuit, and he's talking about the ROI areas within Epic Games Store.
And the issue is one that, apologize, we've only just been recently alerted to this issue.
I've received, I don't know what, 10 motions from third asking me to steal information. I've not received a request with respect to this document.
You have not received a request with respect to this document, Your Honor. It relates to Paradox, and that's the third party. It's not just an Epic within Epic about Epic. If that was the issue, that would not, I'm standing up, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Because it reviewed particular information about a third-party deal, and we were only at that issue this morning.
Your Honor, first of all, I have no intention to raise the name of the company, and I'm not the one using it now. I'm happy to speak generally in terms of the internal discussion within Epic, the impact of that deal on Epic, and I will not raise any of the specific terms in relation to that minimum guarantee. We're just taking it at a conceptual level here.
I think that's fine. My views on these topics have been with respect to third current as opposed to historical information, I have been seeing revenue share numbers. I have indicated in at least one order, and the draft I'm working on right now, that references to this information I will not seal. So, to the extent you want to talk about a particular number, I have a document